Hello, everybody, and welcome to Glitters of Life podcast. I am your host, Rohit Kokne, and in this episode, we are going to have an exciting conversation. Glitters of Life podcast is a place where we unearth and uncover the stories which will inspire you, educate you, and entertain you as well. And today, we have come up with a very interesting topic, which is women in leadership and why it matters. And for this particular episode, we have a very special guest with us. She is Krusha Sahjwani Malkani. She's a multi-passionate professional, and that is the thing that I love most about her. She's the director and head of Asia at Sociable, the author, writer, and again, the life and confidence coach as well. So this is an interesting composition, and Krusha, welcome on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Rohit.
It is my pleasure. So, Krusha, this is an interesting topic that we have thought about having this conversation, and it is like women in leadership, why it matters. So when I say this thing, why it matters, what are your initial thoughts about it and how do you see to it?
Great place to start. So I'm going to be super transparent. This is a candid conversation. I think the first thing that comes to my mind is why is that, a question even today? But it is. It is a question we have to address. So what I mean by why is it a question is we never ask men in leadership, why does it matter? Right? It's just like we need diversity in leadership. We need different kinds of leaders. So I feel it's almost a question that answers itself in a lot of ways. But of course, if we go into details of why women make good leaders, we can definitely talk about that. But that was my instant reaction.
Definitely. So it always matters, like women in leadership always have a greater chances of giving a lot to the organization because they bring a lot to the table is what I feel. So Krusha, I would like to know from you, like what is the kind of style you follow with your leadership and is it different from your male counterparts? How do you like lead your people?
So I think personally for me, at least, so I've been working for maybe 10, 11 years now, and I've been lucky to be managing for half of that time. And what I've come to learn of myself as a leader through my own observation as well as through people I've worked with is I think I'm definitely assertive in the sense that there is a level of it doesn't mean you drop standards. There is a level of execution. I have a coaching mentality when it comes to, of course, I'm a certified coach, so that comes across in the corporate world as well.
Yeah.
That, it's not about micromanaging. It's about letting, hiring the right people and then letting them shine and just coaching them to get their results. So I think that's another thing. I'm definitely, I try to be, I, that's maybe the wrong word. I don't know how to be a different person at work and at home. Of course, we have different facets. I'm not exactly in the same element, but I'm still the same person. So just because I'm at work, I'm not going to be unkind now or, shout at people because apparently that's something that works. So I think that's my personal style. That being said, I also think it's important to address the fact that not all women lead the same way and not all men lead the same way either.
Yeah.
Uh, we may have percentages of certain attributes that are higher basis research by gender, but we shouldn't be generalizing it because I think it harms both. It's what happens is if you see a woman who's a leader, we term her as aggressive that's not my style, but it could be a style that works, and just because she's a woman that doesn't mean that's not her style.
Yeah.
And similarly, same for men. I see a lot of men who maybe are sensitive as people, or that's how they lead as well, and that's an effective style as well, and it's not restricted to gender.
Exactly. And I'm seeing this thing, Krusha, that the things are changing quite dramatically. The kind of data we see, the kind of percentage of women inclusion we see into the organization, it is rising. So you also said about hiring the right kind of people and getting the work done. So this question comes to my mind is like, which is important, the results or the people? And why is it so? Because then again, if you're hiring the right people, then only the outcome will be perfect. And at times it usually happens that if we again hire a kind of a person, he or she might not be able to give that to that particular job well. So the results might again differ. So when you think about getting results, or like who would you be placing up in the ladder? Like, are they people, or you would like be concerned about the results?
I really think they don't need to be mutually exclusive. I think obviously the best people in the right job, the best people for that job, I wouldn't say best people, but best people for that job will bring out the best results. And that also plays a role when we talk about women in leadership. We're not asking for, seats just to fill diversity. You're hiring women because they do a fabulous job and they're going to get you the results. So it's not that hire a woman or choose a man in the position so you get your results. You need to hire women and they'll get you the results, and they're mutually beneficial. There's statistics enough to prove that you're going to get good results by hiring the right people.
Exactly. That is a very valid point. So, Krusha, you have been into the work scenario since quite a long time. So, I would like to know about your journey in brief so that it will again give a lot of comfort to the people who are watching us, because then again, it gives a sense of feeling that, yes, even I am capable and I can also rise to the ladder, because then there is a kind of a feeling where like people feel that, no, they have certain privileges, so they have made up to the leadership position. So definitely I would like to know from your journey, how did you start and where did you reach today, and what was your journey like?
Okay, I will try to sum it up. I started working very early. I started working when I was 19.
Yeah.
So I was studying. I was always a good student, and I didn't like science, so I took commerce because arts was not an option. And when you were doing commerce, and if you were a good student, I did CA, Chartered Accountancy, because again, there was no other option like we have today. But at the second level itself, which was the IPCC level, this was when I was 19. I'd studied for it well, and I passed all the papers I gave. But I didn't give the last paper on purpose because I realized I don't want to do this, because if I pass, and if you've studied hard enough, you'll write the paper, there's a good chance you might pass. And then people would say, everyone doesn't pass, you've got the chance to pass. Now it's just 3 years of articleship, get through it. It's just final CA, finish it, get the degree, then do something else. I didn't want to do that. So I quit on an impulse. I don't recommend it, but that was my journey. Luckily, it worked out well. I didn't have a plan. It's not like I quit saying I'm quitting because I want to do this in my life. That wasn't there either. I liked a lot of things, but it wasn't that one compelling thing I left it for. I think I found an event job just because I liked weddings and I thought maybe that's a good idea. I hated it, but
Interesting.
1 month in, luckily, that led me to, PR company in the same building. I worked there for about 2.5 years, loved it. Then decided it's time to leave. Then worked at a social media agency, got a promotion, didn't take it, decided it's time to leave, decided I get to study. I went to study. Then I got myself a job in Paris. Went there, worked. A few months in, decided eventually I want to come back to the country. Made a plan to get that company to India. Got it here, and I've been growing it ever since. And side by side, I've always been a writer, so I've been
Yeah.
writing. I just released my first novel, so that's big for me this month, finally. Also got certified as a coach and did all of that. So I think it's been a mix. I'd only add, when you said, for example, that when you look at people who've achieved something and then you feel there's a sense of privilege, I do want to be, transparent about it, that I think that do believe I did have a lot of privilege, because I grew up in Bombay, uh, which is the bubble of India. And
Yeah.
even within Bombay, I grew up in South Bombay, which is an even bigger bubble. My grandparents were able to send me abroad to study when I wanted to. Um, so I think that is privilege. That is privilege, that I didn't have financial debt on my head when I was making these choices. So they might seem brave, but I do believe, and I can't say because I've not been in that position, but I do believe that no matter where you are, uh, privilege matters. It gives you a head start, but then anyone can do it.
Absolutely. And your journey seems to be an quite exciting one, because exciting in terms of like you have done a lot of things, and that really amazes me, because then even I was pursuing chartered accountancy, I couldn't clear, and then I had to quit it at some point of time. That is the factor we discussed in our chat. So it is always an interesting thing, because if you aren't giving your best, then you always have to think like what you're good at, and then start pursuing that, grow up into that particular environment, and see how you can impact
Exactly.
that particular thing. So it is great thing to do. And see, like it is not the kind of a thing that if you have stuck at something, then you'll be stuck at the other thing as well. It is,
Exactly.
yeah, you just have to grow into that thing. You
I
just
don't
have to.
think I would have been the best CA. So that's proof that, you can be good at one thing and not so good at another.
Absolutely. So you being a multi-passionate professional, I have been quite a same, because I used to do a lot of things side by side, but it is again, you just have to balance all the things.
Yeah.
So if you're doing a lot of things, then you have the kind of a culture where your parents will be saying that, please focus on something which will yield results. So you just have to be in a very important place where you feel that, yes, they are giving a chance to grow, and then you are growing accordingly. So great way to know. And you also talked about privileges. So you worked in Paris and then brought that particular company to India, and you're growing that again. So what I want to ask you is that how women are contributing to the sustainability, innovation, and legacy into that particular domain. So what kind of culture you have established for that particular company?
Yeah, I think so. It's been a privilege to be able to get the company to India. Of
Yeah,
course, everything takes work. I didn't know anyone in that country when I went to France.
right.
I didn't know anybody. I built it, and then I had to sign some work in India before I told them, you need to come to India. So obviously it took work. What it gave me the opportunity to do as a leader was grow my own team. So I worked alone for a while at the company
Okay.
here until we hired our first person 2 years in, and then, build the team. What it's allowed me to do is, like I said, I'm able to grow the team, build the culture the way I function, which is with empathy. And I actually get it. I'm literally just translating what I learned from my CEO, who's a man, and
Okay.
he leads with empathy, with kindness, with assertiveness. And that really matches my personality, and I've been able to mirror that. So again, goes to show it's very gender agnostic. He's not, he doesn't lead with aggression or what you would feel is a male trait, which I don't think it is. So I get to mirror that here.
Okay. So does it even happen at times like when you are conversation with your boss, then you might be having a different point of view, and then you're putting front your point of view. Does he have to agree on that particular thing, or what is the kind of a conversation you usually have? Because then again, you are leading the director position, and you are the head of Asia. So you might be having a certain strategy for scaling that particular business in the Asian region, and he might be having some different opinion about that particular strategic decisions. So has it ever happened that you get into a kind of a like strategic conflict, I would term it as, and then you make a point over there?
I think that's also where it's very important to be at a place where you're respected and where there's room for every voice. And again, whether it's my CEO, whether it's the people we hire in general, the culture is very flat hierarchy. It's very, everyone can have an opinion. I'm hired because I'm from here, because I understand the market, because I've built my expertise here. So he always listens to what I have to say. It doesn't mean we have to always agree.
Yeah.
Obviously, like you said, there are people above you for a reason. They've been there longer or they've done more. So you discuss it, and then you come to a mutual conclusion. But you always, if I think if I never gave my opinion, then there was no point of me being there. So
Right. So that is again I wanted to ask, because then we do have different point of view, we do have different perspectives, and when two people are working in a very different fashion, it might arise a kind of a situation where you just have to see where you are pivoting and then make a best use of that particular decision. Yeah. So Krusha, what do you think are the barriers when we talk about the female leadership? Because then again, we have seen that the number is rising day by day. More and more female leaders we are seeing in the leadership position, but then there still remains some kind of barriers, and due to some reasons, they just have to quit the workforce or anything can happen. So, what are the usual barriers that you see into the industry?
honestly, if I had to pick one, it's a very clear winner. It's the leaky bucket. That we call. There's enough statistics. We are increasing the number of women in the workforce. We're not increasing the number of women in leadership as much
Yeah,
at
yeah,
all.
true
Um,
that.
and it's because of mainly the leaky bucket that I've seen. Leaky bucket is basically the concept that we lose a lot of women from the workforce after maternity.
Yeah,
And I think that is probably the biggest barrier we have as not just India, but overall in the globe, but especially in India, the numbers are even more.
exactly.
Uh, that's probably the biggest one if I had to pick one.
Okay, but then how we can improve that, or like what would be your see? It might happen like if you're not into that particular situation, then few people might be dealing with the same situation. But then again, coming back to the workforce is what we all need into that particular thing. So, how we can promote that particular culture so that if people are leaving that particular job at that moment, it usually happens. We are not assured like whether they will be back or not, but then
Yeah.
again they have contributed well to the organization and into their position as well. So how we can bring them back if such kind of situations arise, or what would be your strategy for that?
I think there are both sides to it. So one is at the organization level where organizations need to have more policies, but mostly execution of the policies. I think
Yeah,
we have a lot of policies, but we need to execute them, which is, not having a hiring bias. If you hire someone who maybe just found out they're pregnant or just got married, forget just found out they're pregnant. Maybe they got married and you assume that they're going to have a baby, right? There's so much of that happens. Uh, so one is that. Also policies. I feel like we need policies for men.
yeah,
Give more paternity leave. Paternity leave is a joke. Give more paternity
true.
leave. How having a child is a very big transition. It is something that needs time. There is a reason we have maternity leave. It needs time. It's not a vacation. And if you don't give paternity leave, then obviously, automatically, the father has to be in the, if it's the same sex couple, the father has to be in at work and the mother has to be at home because someone has to be somewhere.
Yeah,
So we need more policies for men. We need paternity leave. I think it'll make life better for both genders. I think even men feel when you're becoming a parent, financial burden is as big. You have a
yeah,
lot of expenses, especially today. Raising a child is it's not cheap. It's expensive. I think if you can share the burden both financially and at home, it makes both people's lives better. So I'd say one is organization level, and then the other is at home, which is also big. Especially, we do come from a patriarchal culture.
yeah,
In India, we've come a long way, but even I'm telling you, I stay in South Bombay, and even in South Bombay, there are multiple families where it's not the woman's career is not seen as important, or as soon as she has a child, it's suddenly not as important. Right?
right.
So even at home, I think it's very important for us to make sure we're not rolling our eyes if the husband's in the kitchen or like I I married one of the best men I know. He much better cook than I am. He would be hands-on with, all these different things. And I think the more we have that, because there's only one, your hours don't change. You're still the same human being.
Yeah.
So unless someone shares that load at home, you can't share the load at work. It's not possible.
Exactly. There might be a common thing to do at home, but then it is all like uncommon with the work you are doing, because they can't step into our shoes and do our work. It is all about like the kind of professional work we are doing. But at home, we
Yeah.
can just distribute our time and get that
Mm.
work done. So again, you talked a very valid point about establishing a culture where people are respected, where people are included. Then moving ahead with the kind of a culture, what do you see, or like how we can develop a culture where people feel like they belong here, they can commit mistakes, are not afraid about it, and how they can achieve their goal through that? So if we have to talk about culture in depth, what would be your mindset around that?
Yes, I think culture is huge, but in specific to what you said, of course, people, in specific to people not being afraid of making mistakes or things like that. Um, I think you have the right culture if people are honest about mistakes immediately. They don't feel like they need to hide it or go to 10 other people before they come to you. So I feel like there's good culture if someone's messed up in some way, they take responsibility for it. They come to you and together they know they can trust you to find a solution. It's not that you keep making mistakes and no one is going to tell you anything. Of course, people will, but the culture is more that, okay, now we go into solution mode
Yeah.
together.
Exactly, because then we have to be our authentic self, is what I feel. Be it any position, be it like a male or female, again, we just have to go in and play accordingly. And I always feel that whatever work we are doing, the impact matters a lot, because how wide is the impact will play a larger role rather than what role you are into. Because then still, like, people at ground level are putting a lot of work and they are creating impact. We get inspired
Of
from them,
course.
and again we try to do better into that particular leadership position, and then that is how it rises. Okay. So Krusha, I have been loving this conversation because it is exactly the way I wanted to have it. And now we are going to move forward with the thing. If you had to question a few of the things, like uh, does the company values the women in leadership? So how would you question them, or what question you would be asking to yourself to know about, like, are they really valuing women in leadership?
I think statistics don't hide. So first you need to see, are there women in leadership? So that's all, almost you can see that immediately. Obviously, also when you talk to these women, you need to see that there's diversity there too. Are we honoring women in their complete life journey? Do you also have mothers? Do you also have single mothers? Do you also have fathers who have work-life balance? Like, these are the different things that I would see, because it's easy to say that I'm hiring a woman or I'm promoting a woman in leadership, uh, but then the only kind of women you're promoting in leadership is someone who's chosen not to have a family, for
Yeah.
example. Right? So I think those are telltale signs.
Exactly. And I have seen like many people are getting into leadership position, but then again, how many are staying up there for a like considerable period of time? That again creates a question, because then if you're just seeing them for like an year or two, then it just doubts what
Definitely,
kind of
yeah.
a policy company is following and how they want to promote that. Because we just don't want the inclusion for a considerable period of time, like say for like 1 year, 2 year, or 5 year. We want them to lead, set the example, and create a kind of a culture or create a kind of a diversity into that particular organization, which will contribute to the growth. And I would like to just relate to this, like you talked about the diversity like segment as well. So how does women in leadership add up to the diversity, like the profitable segment of the company, when we include them? So what is their contribution into the profitability, how it changes when male are leading and women are leading, like, so with respect to the profitability?
So I wouldn't put it by gender. I would just say that the more we have both genders, and not both, we have many more genders. The more we have more diversity in leadership, in your overall all your teams, you're going to have newer ideas for the same thing. You're going to get newer personality traits that come together and help you. So for example, every time I'm hiring someone, each time I've hired to build a team, I'm looking for someone to fill a skill I don't have or that the current team does not have, right?
Yeah,
So that's what diversity gives you. It gives you someone who's going to think differently from you. And at the end of the day, you're servicing whatever you're selling. You're servicing clients who are also diverse at the end of the day. So the more newer ideas you have, it's natural to assume that you're going to come up with better projects. You're going to see better results at the end of it.
exactly. And what I feel is that women are way better in handling the finances, is what I understand, because
I
then
hear
they.
so. I'm not going to say it, but that's what I hear. Which is ironic in India because there's such few women who uh, manage their own expenses, while if they are at a company in the role, they're doing a fabulous job. And it's only because they don't. We're not. When I say we've not been brought up with the idea that money is our responsibility. I think I've worked for so long, and it still took me a while for me to get my hands dirty and say, okay, I need to take control of my own finances. It's not that, I mean, I had my own bank account, but it's more than that, right? You have your father or your husband who's looking into, where to invest or what to do. And every year I learn a little more and take more control, but
Yeah.
it takes a lot of unlearning. It didn't come as naturally to me also.
Exactly. And we have been conditioned, or we have been taught in a particular way that whatever money you are putting into a company or something, if you are leading that or if you're owning that particular company, it is the male money or the money bought by your fathers or earned by your husband or something. We don't give that flexibility. We don't give that full authority to the women that, yes, you own this particular money, do what you want to do and do it in a well fashion. So this is how I feel that if you're putting a lot of responsibility over them, then they will be very cautious about them. Then they will be in a position that they're investing in the right way and make conscious decision, because then all it takes is to be invest that in a particular fashion that will reap rewards in near future.
Exactly. It's just about mindset. There's no
Yeah,
doubt that women would do it as well. It's just about the mindset. You grow up with the mindset that, and it's not always a negative. It's a hidden negative because it's most of the time it's like, don't worry about that. That's not your lookout. You don't need to worry about that. That's always the conversation in our homes for women around money. I'll take care of that. You focus on
exactly.
this. So
Yeah.
we have to change that and rewire.
Exactly. That is the case. And Krusha, who were the women who were like you were inspired from, and why they did inspire you? Because then I would like to know whether they were from the industry or they were like your mother, your sister, or anywhere around you, so that we can get insight, like people who are not just working into the industry may also inspire you or like the other people as well.
I think for me, the biggest one definitely was my mother. I saw her really come into her own. When I was 15, my parents got divorced, and I mean, it's not like there was a big need or it was not I'm still taking care of my grandparents, everything. But there was suddenly this need for my mother to change the way she lived her life, right? That she's
Yeah.
lived it in one way. And I really saw she's always been a super positive person, but to see her come into her own, she's a teacher. She was always a teacher, but at a very small scale, to really like focus on that, expand that, do it with passion, make money, take care of us at the same time. I saw it in action in when I was growing up, in the years that I probably needed to see it most or that it would impact me most. So that was definitely the biggest for me. Because she always made it seem like you can do it all.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm obviously lucky that and that's a generational thing also, that for me, I was given that option very early on, that, you can
Okay.
do it all. But yeah, I think that was the biggest for me, but I was also very lucky. My first job, when I started doing public relations, I had an amazing manager and an all girls team, which was very rare.
Exciting.
It was they're still one of my best friends. I still, talk to them all the time, and it was such an empowering experience at 19 and my first job to see like a team of just a small company, but like 5 people in this team, head by an amazing lady, and the whole team being just women. So I think I got the taste of that very early on.
Exciting. And do you want to share any characteristics or the qualities like you admire most from them? Because then again, that is something which makes special contribution in our life, and we just try to see that we include those qualities and work accordingly.
So I think I've seen this in a lot of leaders who are women. In my experience, again, I don't want to generalize, but I've seen this in a lot of women. One, they are more team players generally,
Yeah.
in the sense I don't know if it's the way we've grown up or what it is. And again, I'm not generalizing, but I've just seen it a lot, and I feel it also when I'm in those situations. You want to, you make sure everyone's taken care of, everyone's growing. Uh, you're looking out for the collective good, which is a great quality to have in a leader if you're looking
Yeah.
to hire someone. I think that's the biggest one I've seen. I also think now more than ever that leadership style is really useful because we went through the pandemic. It changed a lot for everybody. Today, I think since the pandemic, our our problems have changed, both
Yeah.
as individuals and as companies. Uh, Mental health, huge. You take Gen Z, who's going to be most of your hires. You would know. So Gen Z, super talented, right? They have
Yeah.
so much information. They're
Exactly.
coming with skills. They're probably going to have better skills than me.
They're
So
quick as well.
that's not what they need from me as a
Yeah.
leader. Uh, they're not here for me to teach them a specific kind of tech. They know it before I know it. What
Exactly.
they need is they have different challenges. They are struggling with, there is so much information, there's so much skills. The negative of that is they've been exposed to so much so early on that there is, mental health issues. There is a sense of anxiety that comes in early, and I've seen that so many times. And that's something they need a stabling force there. They need to work with people who can be kind while still value them in their ways. And I think that's something I've seen women be really good at, and again I've seen some men be really good at it as well. So again, not gender, but I do think that maybe because women, I don't know whether they're brought up that way, they're bringing people up in their houses, whatever they're doing, they have that instinct, that intuition, that ability. Uh, and I've seen that sometimes all you need to do as a leader in the current time is someone's going through a horrible time personally, and we are not machines. We don't work in a way where you can switch off completely your personal feelings, your personal life when you come to work. Yes, you draw a line.
Yeah.
But if I'm completely an anxious wreck because of something that's happening, I am not going to be able to perform at the same level. And at that time, I'm not looking for a leader to teach me some skill. I am just looking for them to maybe be able to listen to me, maybe be able to give me the space and not judge me, and allow me to then come back into my own and do the best job I can.
Exactly. That has changed a lot. And I see that Gen Z are very quick learners. They are applying it and they're just resolving that particular situation or whatever problem arises. They are just being all in and solving that particular thing. So, yeah, we just take a lot of qualities from them and the people around us and see what can kind of changes they can bring to the organization and the people we are working with. They always inspires us. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Lots to learn.
Exactly. And Krusha, the things have changed. We are moving into the particular fashion, like there is the hybrid culture, and women are still able to work from home and
Mm.
contribute to the home chores as well. So that has been a game changer. And even you being a creator on social media platform like LinkedIn, which is one of the leading platform, how has your life changed with respect to that? And in what way you think that social media can contribute to the larger role of women in leadership? Like,
I think so. I've worked in startups most of my life. I've not really worked in big corporates yet, and maybe it was what I was drawn to. But I think I had the opportunity to work remotely before the pandemic as well. So while not at the same scale, yes, when I was working in my first two jobs, long ago.
Yeah.
I was definitely going to office every day. No one had heard of hybrid or remote. But especially because also I brought a company to India on my own. I was working
Yeah.
alone for 2 years, so it really didn't matter where I was. I just needed to work. So I'd got a taste of it very early on. And I always saw a lot of power in it. Now, of course, I was not at a stage where I had kids, or I can understand how much that would be helpful.
Too
But
much.
even without that, it was giving me time to exercise. I was not stuck in traffic. I was just more productive. I still feel I go to office once a week with my team. The rest of the week we work from home. I think we are all super productive.
Yeah.
We have digital to be in touch, to get work done, and we are measured on value. I don't need to know, every minute where every employee is. I just need to know that the work is done, and that they're okay. So I think it's been super empowering. That being said, I remember when remote work really came in full swing during the pandemic. It actually wasn't helping women that much at that
Yeah.
point, because we were in a situation where, again, this is Indian context, but house help was not there, or a lot of people live in bigger families. They don't live alone. It's not nuclear. So a lot of the burden at home came on their shoulders. And then there was also obviously layoffs and things like that, and usually the layoffs are higher with women because they're
Yeah.
already being paid less. So it's a whole cycle of multiple things. But even then I thought, and I think even more today, now that time has passed, that we are going to see the benefits of this change in workplace, the future of work, present of work, and it's going to be very beneficial for women, I think.
Great. The transition is coming very healthily into the market is what I feel. And we have been given a liberty so that when the liberty comes into picture, we are very free to utilize that in a very particular fashion, so that it gives a sense of confidence that yes, we can do that particular thing and we don't have to move our ass off from our chair. We can just
Yeah.
stick there, we can work, we can earn, and that is what is needed in current
It's
situation.
changing, I think, because for a very long time the dialogue was that your worth in terms of professional worth, or
Yeah.
what you're giving, or your salary or anything, is based on the number of hours you put into. You have to log in and you have to log out, right? You have to clock in, clock out. That was a thing across
Yeah. Yeah.
industries, more in some than others, still pertinent in a lot of industries. I think that changes also plays a very level playing ground, because now if I have, let's say I have a child, and then I need the ability to be able to get up between meetings and be with my child. If I didn't have remote work as a policy in the company, then I was asking for a favor. But
Yeah.
now that everyone has it, it's no longer a favor, so there's no longer bias, or I'm not seen as a liability.
Exactly.
It's so, and that's not used to pay me lesser or slip me up for a promotion or things like that. So I think
Right.
that really helps.
Exactly. And the other day I was listening to this podcast by Michelle Obama, and she was in conversation with a guest, and they were talking about like who should be given what kind of attention, and who gets that particular attention. So if a woman is having a kid and if that particular person calls, then you just have to attend her or him if he or she is calling you, because then again they are your first priority and the work should not come in between that particular thing. But then again there are instances where you have to focus, but then again your priorities should be set accordingly. And when you're working as a woman, it is all about doing everything and still getting respect for that. So that should not
I think
drift
so. I
away.
think it's going to change, and I really believe in both the women of our country and the organizations that this is going to happen. Honestly, if a woman can go through labor and go through everything that follows before and after in those 2 years, then I really think you can trust her to do whatever office job you need her to do, because also women are very more than required generally hesitant to commit to take up something or to
Yeah,
say they're really good at something. So if they're telling you they're going to do it, the chances that they're going to do it are quite high.
exactly. They just have to voice their opinion and it should be bang on the target is what I feel.
And they need that trust. They also need that trust. They need that environment, right? Like I
Yeah,
said, I can speak up or I can ask for something I want because that's the kind of environment I've chosen. So the more such environments are popping up, the more choices women have, and they're not only saying, imagine if there were 10 options of job offers, but only one of them provided remote work. Then I don't really have a choice, do I, if I'm a mother at that
Yeah.
point? So now that more and more companies are giving that, at least I have options to choose from as a woman. Everyone's going to have that.
I do agree to that. So, were there any instances or situations in your life, or you feel that someone would have advised you better in your career? Like, this is not, you have to proceed. So, were there any kind of moments into your life as well?
Honestly, they must be full of them because I think a lot of my decisions were very. I always followed my gut. I did take calculated risks, though. I was not the kind of person who would just jump off the cliff. So I did take calculated risks. It's not like obviously I had to. Money mattered. I had to make money. I knew my contribution matters to everything I do. Maybe not as much my life, but as time goes ahead, it does matter in my life. If I want to pay for a trip I want to take, it I need to earn it, or if I want to have a child, I need to pay for it. If I want to then pay for the child's education, I need to pay for it. So obviously, it matters. Like for example, I always wanted to be an author. But it took me time to get to that journey, and I didn't leave everything and become an author because I knew I couldn't. It wouldn't pay the bills. It wouldn't do those things. So I had to find a balance. Um, I think now, as because I'm a coach, as a certified coach, what I love about coaching, that's why I chose coaching and not counseling.
Yeah.
Like a career counselor or a mentor tells you what they think you should do. Whereas a coach sits with you, partners with you on your goals, and helps you figure out what you want. So I still think that's the best thing. So I'm sure people would have had a lot of advice for me, but I enjoy that this was the path I created. Maybe if coaching was a thing early on in the day, that would have helped because I would have someone professional to reflect with, to partner with. Maybe it would have accelerated something. But otherwise, I don't think there's one right answer. As a coach, I feel like you and I could be in the same situation, but two different answers could be the answer to what we should be doing.
That can totally happen, and I agree to whatever all you said, because then even if I am just into this particular position as a podcaster, people do have this kind of a notion like, are your bills getting paid through this or something like that? But then again, that shouldn't be the situation, or that shouldn't be the case always. You need to enjoy your work. You need to be in a position where you can inspire millions out there. So if any one person is going to watch this particular thing and gets inspired from or educated from this, then we are adding value. And for that, like, it does get paid into that particular fashion. Like, the value added gets like knocked off with everything that you do in your life. And again, we need to have something. So when I'm into the business, I'm just having my own income, and then doing something passionately again can give you a kind of creativity boost. So everyone in as a person should look at this factor as well, like how they can keep their creative aspect alive and
100%, yeah.
use that as well. So you have done in the similar fashion, like being a coach and author. The life has come to the full circle is what I believe.
Yeah, I think it's honestly, I feel like it's always a work in progress. Every year I look back and one more dot connects.
Yeah.
I don't think it's fully connected. There's still things that are connecting and new things that are going to join and some things that I'll drop. But it's a work in progress. And like you said, I just try to balance out, take a job that you enjoy. So it's not, I love my day job. It's not like a toxic place or something I'm only doing to pay the bills. And then I write on the side and I coach on the side, and all of it contributes, as you said, in different ways to your
Totally.
life.
Yeah. So, Krusha, we are about to end this episode, and we are on Glitters of Life podcast. So the name Glitters of Life is quite special for me, because then through this particular name, I'm trying to add a lot of value. I'm trying to change the perspectives. I'm trying to shape up the kind of attitude people might be having. So if you have to think about this particular name, Glitters of Life, and define life of yours, or like, would you like to sum up something about your life with respect to Glitters of Life? How would you relate to that?
It's such an interesting question. Before I answer it, I'm going to ask you a question. So how did Glitters of Life come up? What was the mindset behind the...
So you being a host, I have to answer this. So this was interesting. Like, we all go through kind of a situations where you feel that something is missing in your life, and then you try to fill by doing something. So it is again like when you take action and that particular action doesn't give you the kind of results you were expecting, but still there is a brighter side to it. There is the other side to it. The life doesn't come to an end, and you're not fixing anything. You are not broken. You just have to give a different kind of opportunity for yourself and see that you can create an impact, and people will be proud of you, whatever you are doing in your life. So what I feel is that our life is quite alive. We just have to feel it, and that is how we just have to add glitters to it. So that is how the glitters of life came into existence, and I have been calling it as my brand name or something like that. But then this name stays close to my heart.
I love it. Thank you. I wanted to hear the
Thank you.
story. Okay, I will answer your question. I think I really align with that thought because for me, I've always been, again, I probably saw it in my mother ever since I was a child, but it's a very big part of who I am. That I tend to look for the silver lining or see the glass half full. If you even go to my coaching website, that's what I talk about. I say there's no way I can know the other side. I can only know my story. I can't be in someone else's shoes literally.
Yeah.
So I always tell people that I think I'm super lucky. And maybe I am. Maybe I got a couple of things, but it depends on where you look. And I can sit down and count, oh, my parents got divorced, oh, I had psoriasis when I was a kid, or I had my share of heartbreaks as well as all of us do. I didn't have one clear goal in my career, and I had to figure it out along the
Yeah.
way, and so on and so forth. And that list can go on, and then there's the other list, which is the skills that I was born with, the skills I got to hone, my health, and so many other things. I married the love of my life, all these things that happened to me, and I just choose to focus on that. It doesn't mean, also I feel it's important to say, it's not toxic positivity. It's not saying that you need to be in the best mood every day, every
Yeah.
minute of every day, but it's just realizing that yes, there are multiple emotions. You can feel angry, you can feel sad, you can feel all of that, but you don't stay in that. And the perspective on pain, or they say purposeful pain, and again, maybe childbirth is the best example. When you're I feel like the fact that a person can go through that is only because they know what's coming. So they don't obsess over just the pain. They think of the pain and say, yes, I'm not saying this is not painful, this sucks, but at the same time it's leading to something. So there's meaning behind everything that happens.
Exactly. Thank you for defining that particular fashion, and that was quite relatable because then everyone would be able to relate to that. And we had a great conversation, and that is all what we needed to have, because then again, it does matter, women in leadership. And if I have to take away key points or something like that, there are many to it. But then I loved the entire conversation. I loved the way you shared your perspective. Definitely it will elevate the kind of confidence we wanted to boost through this particular episode. So thank you so much for being over here, and I wish you all the best for your future endeavors.
Thank you so much, Rohit, for having me. And I hope if a lot of girls, women, whoever is listening into this, that we see all of them and a lot more of them in the workforce and in leadership.
Exactly. And Krusha, you have been like inspiring millions out there through your content. So thank you for being a kind of a person over there, and that truly reflects the kind of personality you own. So be the same and keep guiding us.
Thank you so much. Every time someone tells me that, I'm honestly just like, it's just gratitude. I love writing. I love talking. I'm grateful and lucky that people get to listen to it. And the fact that they are inspired by it is just like bonus.
Exactly. And that is the reason I love to host a podcast, because then I get to have this unfiltered conversation with the people who I admire. And that just brings out a different kind of a mindset in my life as well. So again, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rohit.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Stay happy and stay healthy.
You too.
Thank you.